Hello, Oracles. Woo, what a week we have had in the market. Give you guys a few moments to get on, but today we're going to be talking about a lot that has gone on in the market. We've got the war that is possibly breaking out in the Middle East, or at least some tensions are growing over there. We've got the port strike and then the port strike ending. We've got unemployment numbers that came out today. So lots of good stuff, some stuff to still be concerned about. Still have, of course, the election going on. So lots to discuss today. Give you guys a few minutes to get on here. You guys can let me know in the comments, how you guys did in the market this week. Please hit that like button down below as well. Gets us up there in the algorithms for everyone. So this week for me, I made a lot of buys this week. So what I love about my portfolio is the fact that like every time there's a little bit of a dip, I'm buying. And so I'm not now it's a DCA, but it's kind of like a modified dollar cost averaging. And I thought about the other day, it's kind of like relating it to Shawshank Redemption for anybody who has seen that movie. Andy Dufresne in prison, and he's there obviously, wrongfully, but it sucks. He doesn't want to be there, but he finds a way to get out. But the only way that he can get out is by being consistent over time, by just chipping away at that wall, and eventually he breaks himself free. And I know sometimes some people feel like their job is a prison. Now, of course, you could just willingly go leave your job. You don't have to be trapped there, but some of us kind of trap ourselves there. In our own minds, we don't like change. We just trap ourselves there. But if you invest properly, little bits over time will eventually break you free of that. And that's kind of what I've done for my own portfolio, is just that, is I've created a system that I can be very consistent with, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. It took a lot of effort to create the plan, but now to follow the plan does not take a lot of effort at all. So I just follow my plan, and it will break me free. But you have to have that very long-term mindset in order to understand that those small little steps every single day are going to lead to that freedom in the long run. And so it's very hard for a lot of people to understand that, because so many people are focused on just day to day, and some people are just focused on minute to minute or one foot in front of the other. I was at that point at one point in my life, and then over time I can start looking, hey, well, what does this week look like? And then what does this month look like? And then, hey, what does the next year look like? And for me, that's kind of what I've done, just slowly over time. So wherever you are in your journey, just keep on putting that one foot in front of the other, and eventually you will be able to have a longer term vision. Hey, Dad, how's it going? And that's really what it comes down to. And my ex-father-in-law had, he's instilled a lot of wisdom in me as well. The short little time that I had him as my ex-father-in-law, or father-in-law at the time. And one of the things is have a 5 and 10-year plan. And having a 5-year and 10-year plan is great. And it's not like you have to hold yourself completely true to it, but just at least having that goal and that vision at the end is like, all right, this is what I'm striving for. And you can always veer along the way, take a different path, figure different things out. You don't have to take one consistent path to get there. But if you have that goal at the end, at least you can create and formulate a plan to get to that goal. And for me, the goal always changes. I've adjusted my goal here and there, and the timing of it isn't always going to be the same. Sometimes it's going to be sooner. Sometimes it's going to take a bit longer, but eventually you will get to that point and you'll reach that goal. And you just have to make sure that you're constantly staying diligent about being consistent with your strategy. And for me, again, I've already showed you guys the other day, I'm constantly tweaking my plan. I'm always making adjustments, always learning. One of the things my dad has always taught me as well is be a constant learner, always constantly try to change things and learn. And my dad is still doing the same thing himself. And, that's why I have the Elon Musk quote up there as one of my favorites is, one of the greatest pieces of advice you can always figure out, or hold on, I'm going to quote it exactly. I think this is the single best piece of advice. Constantly think about how you could be doing better and questioning yourself. And that's what I'm always doing. I'm always questioning myself. What can I do better? How can I improve upon this? And I don't stress myself. I used to stress myself out crazy over it. And I used to be like, God, why am I not going fast enough? And now it's not so much about why am I not going fast enough? It's, hey, what can I do better? What can I make this plan work better? What in this plan did not work out as well before? I showed you guys my portfolio. First year of investing, I was upside down $1,100. All right, well, what adjustments can I make? Tracking your portfolio, tracking your gains, tracking your finances is going to give you that full entire view of what you are doing. What are the tasks that you're doing? What are the things that the actions you're taking to be able to reach your goal? Hey, these actions here that I'm taking aren't working. All right, let me change my actions. Let me do something different. And you don't always have to do huge drastic changes. You can tweak little things here and there to get yourself over there. And that's all I'm doing now is some little tweaks. And for instance, Oracle, I'd mentioned the other day, I had Oracle. I liked it. I bought it because it's my namesake. The stock I think was going to do really well during the AI boom, and sure enough, it did. But the balance sheet on the company is not very good. And if we're going to get into a potential recession, I don't want to have a company like that. Maybe they do end up booming. Maybe they solve something, whatever it is, and they take off, they fix their balance sheet, or even their balance sheet is crap and they still continue to run. That's fine. I don't want to take that risk. So I've put a stop loss in. And even though we dipped a little bit this week, for me, it didn't end up triggering that stop loss. I've got a 5% on it, and it now ran up a little bit more today after the news we got. So I'm just continually following that. And then, if it drops down hardcore after this, I made my money. If it keeps on running, hey, then I'm just going to make more money on that in the long run. So again, just constantly making those little tweaks. All right. So getting into the news for this week. So we got the port strike going on. So that ended up triggering on the 1st of October. So port strike, obviously a lot of people panicked. I don't know if you guys in your area, had Costco's running out of toilet paper and paper towels again. Man, the masses are stupid, but that's what ended up happening. So they struck a deal last night, and the deal is not completely finalized like it is, but it's more delayed. So we now have until the middle of January before they have to renegotiate, but it kind of kicked the can down the road. So they've got time. So we don't have to worry about that right now. So, of course, I have no doubt that the government got involved. They're big into unions. So, of course, it's not going to look good for them politically if all of a sudden this is going on during their run. So either way, it's taken care of. So politics out of this, it's taken care of. It's not a concern that we have to worry ourselves about right now, because if it continued on for a longer period of time, it could have affected GDP, could have affected inflation. Other things could have been affected. We don't have to worry about that. So this is good. Other issues we got were going to be the war that's going on. We've got tensions between Israel and Iran. U.S. is getting involved a little bit in that. So those tensions building up still could be a concern. We've seen oil prices kind of spiking and moving up a little bit on all of this news, because that's typically what happens in that region. When you have tensions over there, oil prices go up. Now, don't forget, oil prices going up could be an issue as well when it comes to inflation, because oil prices going up means that freight charges go up, means that transportation goes up, means that prices of everything is going to go up. And manufacturers and retailers and everybody who are selling these things have to pass that cost on to somewhere. They're either going to, absorb some of it themselves, or they're going to pass some off. So if it goes up too high, they will end up passing it off. I have a feeling that they'll initially absorb some, but I think if it lasts too long or if it goes too high, they will end up passing it off, causing some inflation. So that's just something to pay attention to right now. Now, ExxonMobil has been moving up. I own that stock. That's been going up. Occidental has been moving up as well. So again, of course, oil prices going up means the oil companies are going to be going up. One of the reasons I bought those. Now, me still being a huge Tesla fan, I still want to see that go. I think Tesla is going to be phenomenal, but oil is still going to have its place for at least the next 10 to 15 years. It's not going away anytime soon. And of course, tensions like this are proving that. So we'll see how all of that plays out. Now, the bigger news that's going to affect the market on a more grand scale is going to be what happened today, which is the unemployment. Now, we've been paying attention to this since August. We've been watching the unemployment numbers going up and up and up, and they did tick down 0.1% going into September. So the question was, is that a fluke, or was that going to be a trend continuing? And the expectations for today were 4.2%. We came in at 4.1%. Job opening expectations were between 145 and 150,000. We get 256,000. So a very strong jobs report, which is awesome. So those two numbers right there gave the market a sense of relief, because now we're not having to worry about the unemployment piece of when it comes to the Fed dropping and cutting rates. So this is now going to be nice, and the Fed can kind of breathe a sigh of relief as well. Say, all right, maybe a soft landing is actually back on the table. The Fed has been telling us that it would be, but we shall see. Now, some kind of devil's advocate thoughts that I've had about all of this, the fact that we knew about the port strike stuff going on back in June. We knew that this was a potential and this was going to be the deadline. And they, of course, didn't meet the deadline. So they, hit the strike. But because we knew about it back in June, a lot of companies out there kind of front loaded their product ordering to be able to get that product there just in case we hit the strike and they weren't going to be able to get it in. So that may have offset some of the numbers that we saw in July, August, and September because of that front loading. Again, we still have to wait to see how this plays out, but does that mean that because of all the product that they bought there, we're going to see lower numbers in October, maybe September, October, and November because everybody already bought their stuff? So again, this could be just, retailers or companies sitting on a lot of product, and then they're going to have to unleash it to the population, and hopefully going into maybe the holiday season, they'll be able to sell that off. But then the question is it going to sell off at regular prices, or are they going to have to discount it heavily because they're sitting on all of this inventory? So those are just some of the pieces I'm paying attention to. And then when it comes to the labor, so we did see the unemployment going down, and then it's ticking back up now. Now, did it tick back up right now just because of the fact that, or I'm sorry, tick back down? Yeah, down to the 4.1%. Did it tick back down because of the fact that we're now looking at the fact that we have a lot of people out there who are hiring, bringing it in or opening up the jobs for the holiday season. Maybe they're opening up the holiday season jobs earlier. Again, a lot of unknowns that are out there at the moment when it comes to that. I still want to see data points going forward, but at least today's numbers with unemployment was a very good sign, because now we can say, all right, there's a good chance that maybe we do hit this soft landing. Now, going back to my strategy on this, one of the reasons I love my strategy is because whether we hit a recession or a soft landing, I'm kind of in a win-win situation because I am bought into the market. And I'll bring up my spreadsheet for you guys now to share it. Let me see here. And that's one of the reasons I designed my spreadsheet the way I did, is because, what I have learned over the last few years is the fact that I don't want to miss out of the market, but I always want to make sure that I have enough cash on hand to take advantage of any opportunities that are out there. And why is this? Oh, there. That's why. And so I created it the way I did. So this way I'm in, and I'm always going to be there when it's running. And if it's not running, I'll have cash to take advantage of the opportunities. So let me get here. I'll get this for you. Done, done, done. There we go. All right. All right, so this week I made a bunch of buys. So again, I've been showing this with you to you guys here, and this is the amount that I have to spend, which is $0 right now because the market ran back up. I'm only at 8.92% cash, but this is one of the things is, everything dipped down, so I had $150 to spend, and I spent that $150, and I bought myself some PLD. I bought a share of Vici, and I bought some other things in here earlier in the week because we dipped so much and I had cash available. Then the market runs, and that just means that my cash position goes down. All right, cool. Now, because my entire portfolio value has gone up, which is almost at $56,000, that means I need more cash on hand. So then if the market dips, I have more cash on hand to take advantage of that dip. So every little dip that we get shows me you've got cash to spend. Here's where you want to spend the cash. Spend it there. And I just keep on moving this forward. And then once I hit the next level and I've completely filled all these up, I move to the next criteria, which will be 10% cash. Because again, I do still think there's a potential for a recession. Reasons being are the fact that, yes, we got these great numbers today when it comes to unemployment, but internally, remember what happened last year when we got the unemployment numbers? They looked great. Jobs numbers looked great. And then all of a sudden we got in August, the revised numbers that were off by 800,000. So again, it's going to come down to your trust of the government's numbers. But if they were off by that much last year, do you think all of the numbers that we're getting right now are completely accurate, especially during an election year? I don't think so. I mean, they haven't been accurate since I've been actually following this ever. There's always revisions, and sometimes they're massive revisions. So I'm going to take all of these numbers with a grain of salt, and I'm not going to bank on us just being lied to. I don't think they're just doing that intentionally, but maybe they are. Conspiracy theorists will say that they are, but regardless, I don't think these numbers are going to be completely accurate. I have no doubt we will get revised numbers in the future that tell us otherwise. But when we start looking at times like January, maybe January rolls around and the port strike happens again. And all of a sudden now it does become major and then they don't resolve it within a week. Maybe that becomes a bigger problem. Maybe we get to next year and they're like, all right, well, we're going to have a new president taking over one way or the other. And there's more concerned about that. Maybe policies coming up, whatever it is, could be something massive that comes in and causes a huge disruption in the market and the economy. And then we start pulling back down and crashing. So, that to me is one of the things that I'm kind of concerned about is what happens next year. Maybe we don't get great numbers that are coming through the holiday season, and then retailers come out and say, oh, we had weak spending. So don't forget, the consumer is still sitting on the highest credit debt that they've ever had before. So consumers don't have a lot of money to spend in this holiday season. And we have a bunch of companies out there sitting on a ton of inventory that they may not be able to sell. That could be a problem. Then they're going to start reporting lower revenue numbers. They're going to start reporting lower margin numbers because the fact that they had to sell their stuff at discounts or trash it altogether could be a concern. So, those are just the things that I'm looking at on both ends of the spectrum. Again, I hope we do well. I hope the Fed gives us a soft landing. I hope the economy is strong and we just boom right out of this and never hit a recession. But I need to prepare for the worst, because if you don't prepare for that and you do get it, you're screwed. So, I kind of try to pick that strategy from in the middle of both directions. All right. So sorry, I appreciate the transparency. Thank you. Yes, I try to be as transparent as possible. And again, anybody who is a member or patron, that spreadsheet, and again, it's kind of a very rough spreadsheet. Like there's a lot of numbers on there that don't even need to be there, but I don't care. I'll share all of that stuff with you guys. Some of it doesn't make sense, and if anybody wants to correct it, by all means, go ahead. But all members and patrons that I have full access to that. You can see whatever I update live. If I'm making adjustments, sometimes I add full columns in there. Like I'm adding a new column this weekend for 1-year dividend growth rate for each of my ETFs and stocks, so I can see what the growth rate is. Because obviously that's one of the important things, looking at the whole spreadsheet here is, I want to make sure I'm growing. So I've got an 8.31% yield, which of course fluctuates consistently when it comes to the entire value of my portfolio. But what I'm looking at is just straight income, because I pay with my bills with dollars and not percents. And so I'm looking at, year over year, I'm already up 21% over last year. And that's just on my dividends. That doesn't include the rent that I'm now bringing in. So the rent that I'm bringing in is going to increase that even more. But I'm not factoring that, just strictly off of dividends, which is 100% passive income. That to me there is already up 21%. So that to me is a 21% raise that I've gotten in my income year over year. And then we still have 3 months left to go of the year. So very excited about that. And I've already gotten in some dividends this month. Now I'm really curious about QQQY and WDTE, because both of these now switch to paying weekly. I don't know if this is going to keep up, because if this is paying weekly, I'm getting $120 a month. That's insane. I doubt it. So I think that this is going to drop down significantly. YMAX already adjusted it down. So I'm going to be bringing in, if it stays at this rate, about $40 a month, which is, looking at it historically, going to be the highest it has ever paid me. So the highest before was just over $36. So again, we'll track YMAX for the rest of the month and see if they can stay consistent with this. But again, because they're paying out more frequently, I also want to check NAV erosion to make sure that the value isn't dropping. So that's why I'm constantly checking over here at the all-time total returns. Where is it? All-time total return here. So again, I'm up $96, up 9%. It's not bad. Again, I'm not going to turn away a 9%, return. So again, this is just something to pay attention to and make sure, I don't see NAV erosion pulling this down even further. Because looking at like Coney, I'm at 195%. QQQY, I'm at 48%. WDTE, 36%. Yes, they're not going to appreciate in value. As a matter of fact, they're probably going to depreciate in value. But because of the fact that they pay out so much in their dividends, I'm going to get a massive return, higher than anything else I have. Once I see this dwindle down, which happened with KLIP for me, it was dwindling down to that 20% mark and just keep on trickling down. I was like, you know what? At that time, I will sell it. But I'm now at the point where, my stable income here is paying out almost as much as my high yields. And so I'm like, you know what? I will let this ride. And eventually this becomes such a small amount of income for me there won't be any need having it. So I'll just take these, I'll sell the positions out and move that cash into these other plays that I'm going to have for longer term. So that's my strategy for right now. And again, always tweaking it, always adjusting and figuring things out as I go. But I'm just gonna pay attention to these payments. And again, if I can, if this can pull in $60 a week, that'd be awesome. But I highly doubt it. I have a feeling these are going to come down to probably around that $12 to $15 mark on a weekly basis, which would still be nice. But I think that's what it's going to come down to. We'll pay attention in the future on those. Big fan of JEPQ, big dividend, and still get some appreciation. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'll bring those up. So JEPI and JEPQ have been awesome, and again, they're not going to appreciate as much as their underlying index that they're following. But like JEPQ here for me, let me go to my all-time return on these. So my all-time total return on JEPQ is up 13.69%. JEPI, I'm up 16%. And again, these are paying out very nice dividends on a monthly basis, and they have equity appreciation. And that's one of the reasons why I like those so much, is because I'm going to get both, the best of both worlds. And they've proven that during downtimes, they're going to outperform the market because of those dividends. And I've gone over it before, how their dividends actually go up during downtimes. Like 2022, they were paying out much higher dividends because of the volatility. And because they're using covered call strategies, options are going to do better during higher volatility times. And so if you're going to have a higher volatility time when the market is down, that means that you're going to have extra cash coming in because of the higher dividends that they're paying out. Why is that beneficial for me? For my strategy? Well, because of the fact that right now on a monthly basis, JEPQ is bringing in 1442, JEPI is bringing in 993. Now, other ones that are paying out the same way here that are going to be based off of volatility, as well as the inverse of volatility. So that's kind of an oddball out, but QQQI and SPYI, same principle. They're playing on the covered called on indexes here. And then I've got, there's one more, Devo down here does the same thing. All of that cash coming in will end up going up as an income. So yes, the equity value will drop, but the payout from the dividend will go up. I take that cash and I don't drip it in. I could drip it in some of these because I have the faith that they will turn around and come back out of this. But I take it as a cash payout to put it into whatever position is the most beaten down for me. And again, as long as I have confidence that the ETF fund or the stock is going to recover, that means I'm going to be able to put that cash into the best place and not just dripping it back into the place that it came from. So it's kind of my way of, I don't want to say swing trading, but dollar cost averaging on a more wise basis. It's this way I'm more wise because I'm putting that cash into even better opportunities, I think, based upon my formula that I've created. And I'll put it into a better opportunity, and I have more cash coming in to be able to do that. So when we do end up recovering, I have now bought more for less, and I'll be able to get higher returns on all of that. That's my strategy right now. Again, when we get there, maybe it's not going to play out that way, and I'm going to have to tweak some things, but that's how I've got it played out right now. And for my members and patrons on the second tier, I will have that spreadsheet cleaned up, and I'm going to be able to give you guys a downloadable version of it so that you guys can use it for yourself if you want. And I am looking at, again, I mentioned the other day, it's kind of a pipe dream right now, but I have it in the works to at least discuss it with my buddy to turn that entire spreadsheet into an app. Now, you guys let me know. And I don't know if this exists. I've seen obviously plenty of apps that are going to be able to track my portfolio, regardless of what brokers I'm in, and I can kind of combine all the brokers to track my portfolio. I've seen that. I've also seen obviously, like Acorn, things like that for budget trackers, and an app that I can use as a budget tracker. I've never seen any of them combine the two. And that's kind of what I want to do. And I'll share, so you guys can see what I have in my spreadsheet here. And again, if you guys know of it, please let me know, because I honestly don't know if it exists. If I can actually get this to work. Oh yeah. So I've got the snapsheet or the snapshot. So again, something, cleaner, nicer to look at, like obviously a landing page when you get onto the app. Cool. This shows me all of the most key figures that I want, and it'll be customizable to whatever figures you want to see when it comes to your snapshot. Maybe it's finances, maybe it's your budget that you want to see because you haven't even started investing yet. Whatever it is, I want you to have that option. Then obviously you'll have your full portfolio breakdown of all this data, and you can add and drop whatever columns you want that are in here to get the data that you want to see. Then I've got the sales that are tracking all of my sales over every single year so I can see how much I've made or lost every single year as well. And then, you can see charts if you want the charts in there. But then also go over here and I have my own budget P&L, my profit and loss statement for myself. So this is my entire profit and loss statement that's based upon the budget that I've created for myself for the entire year. Then all of my um, income and or all of my purchases, all my spending, all detailed out here. And I want this to be broken out where you can, connect it with your credit cards and your banks so you don't have to manually enter it in like I do. It'll just automatically do it just like it does on Acorns and all those other apps. It will automatically populate all of your spending in one place. Then it'll automatically populate that into your P&L. So the only thing you have to manually enter is going to be what your budget is. You have decided what you want to have your budget be, and then you track it. And hey, here's what the budget is. Here's what the actual is that came in, and here's what you've done over the budget. Did you do better or worse than your budget that you had planned for yourself? And then because of that, you can easily create a budget for the following year based upon the actual numbers you had coming in. And then finally, it all comes down and culminates to my net worth. So then net worth, I have tracking every single week. And again, if it's in an app doing it automatically, I don't have to manually enter all of these numbers every single week. And it'll come down here and drop it down as to what it is. So this is kind of something that I want to have put into an app form. And again, this is, my dad, I'm getting tired just watching all the work you're doing. Yes, it's a lot of work, but to me, it's a lot of work up front, which made my day-to-day work super simple because now I don't have anything. Because before I was like focusing constantly every single day on everything I needed to do. Now I sit down on a Saturday, I update the numbers in there, and that's it. That's very minimal work that I'm doing now. Now I want to take it to the next step, which is down to the app, which in the app, now I won't have to do any work other than put the budget in that I want and then just do the fun stuff, which is here's my budget that I want, live my life, just make sure and it'll track it according to my budget. Cool, done. When it comes to my portfolio, hey, I just take a look at my app. How's it doing? Hey, how are my stocks doing? Track those. That's the fun stuff. So that's really the next level I'm taking it to. So yes, it was a lot of work up front, but again, this is why I want to create it as an app and even as the spreadsheet to share with you guys to take that work out of it for you. It was a lot of work. This is like a year and a half worth of me creating this entire thing. So, and I'm constantly changing it. But if I can get it to a point where, you guys can take it as it is and then do your own tweaking on it, and I've like laid that out for you, I want to thank you in that way. So again, if I can do that for you guys as members and patrons to be able to take that'd be me thanking you guys for that. All right. So that was all about my stuff that I'm working on. But otherwise, let's look at what's going on with the market. Again, the market moving up nicely. One of these days I will get, and I don't know what happened to it, but I had Weeble is gone off of my laptop. I'll figure that out later. So this way I can take a look at the market with you guys as well. But yeah, I mean, right now, again, based upon the numbers and the data we got this week, the concern about the port strike gone, the concerns about unemployment are feeling better. I still want to see more data coming out to show us that, yeah, we are in the clear, to really show me. And again, I'm not going to be satisfied probably till next June. That's kind of the time frame I'm giving myself is if we can get till next June and show positive signs in the economy, at that point, I will be happier. But until next June, I'm still going to be paying attention to every single data point to make sure that we are actually moving in the right direction. So that'll be the next piece for me. Obviously, the election, but again, there's only four? I think just over 4 weeks left until the election. So again, there's always drama every single time. Anybody who's been around for more than the last 12 years in the last couple of elections know that every single time we have an election, the entire economy, everybody's up in arms like, oh, if this person wins, the worst is going to happen, we're going to fall apart as a country. If this person wins, we're going to fall apart as a country. If this person wins, all of these stocks are going to tank. If this person wins, all of these stocks are going to tank, and these other ones are going to do well. And quite honestly, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Regardless of what president took over, whatever party was in charge of anything, whether it was the presidency, the Congress, Senate, whether they controlled all of them, whether it was a divided government, guess what happened? The market went up. Regardless of who was in charge, the market went up every single time. Didn't even matter if we had the dot com bubble. Didn't matter if we had the great financial crisis. Maybe within 1 or 1.5 to maybe 2 years, the market was down, but over the entire term of that presidency, the market was up every single time. And as my dad says here, October is normally tax harvest month. However, yearly successful market, there will be less things to sell off. We have had a good year. And don't forget, a lot of people did some tax loss harvesting back in March. When we had that big dip back in March, there's quite a bit of tax loss harvesting going on then because we had such a massive run already in the year. So some people were taking some losses then. Now, of course, we've had a massive run since then as well. So yes, October, especially with the fact that you can't do any, no corporations are going to be doing any buybacks this month. There's typically going to be lower volume and more volatility. So if there is some tax loss harvesting going on, that tells me that we see that massive sell-off. And again, you have hedge funds and corporations or hedge funds and like a bunch of these different funds that are out there doing institutions doing a lot of the selling because they're going to sell now to take their tax loss harvesting. Selling a lot of the stocks in turn is going to bring the entire market down, which in turn brings everything else down, which is why October, especially in an election year, can be a bad month. September is usually the worst month, but October can also be a bad month. But then the buying starts to pick up maybe at the end of the month. But as we saw last year, it was like right at the end of the month, we saw that buying come back in and kick in November and then move up. And then obviously post-election, typically the market runs after that as well, because the stock prices are going to be suppressed from these institutions and hedge funds selling a lot of their stocks and positions off. So now they have intentionally driven it down based upon the stuff that they're taking losses on. And then because it drags everything else down, they can now buy back in at lower prices for other things that they want to come in at. And so it's just the way the market is manipulated in the near term. And again, for anybody who's a swing trader, you learn those kind of things. You can take advantage of that for your own benefit. Options trading, swing trading, whatever it is, if you're playing more near-term stuff and volatility, you need to have that kind of information to understand how the market can work in the near term to be able to do those, quick swing trades within a month or so. And if you're doing that, don't forget the wash rule, the 30-day wash rule. So very important to understand that so that you don't miss out on any, or that you can actually take advantage of that tax loss harvesting and not have to miss out on that. So make sure that you pay attention to that as well. But then for me, like as a long-term investor, why I like the spreadsheet is while you guys, doing the swing trading or options playing are taking advantage of those to swing in the near term, I'm going to take advantage of that dip to be able to buy and add to my longer term positions at lower prices, maybe lower my cost basis, maybe just, buy shares at a lower price than I had been buying them at, whatever it is. That's my strategy, is dollar cost averaging at lower prices during those times. And then again, I look at things like an Oracle. I haven't even had that one for a year, but some of my stocks now I've had for over a year, and I kind of want to play more of the long-term capital gains thing. I still, get paid well at my job. So for me, I'm getting taxed at a very high rate when it comes to these. So selling off for a gain really isn't anything I want to do because I have to pay higher taxes on them. So if I can play them longer and minimize the taxes if I do sell them off, that's more important to me. So now I've kind of got to the point where I'm holding most of these companies and ETFs for more than a year. So if I sell them and I take a profit, it's going to be a lower capital gains tax. So if I can continue to do that, then I can see things like Oracle. I'm like, hey, I'm up 50% on it. I'm seeing some red flag signs in there. Now I can sell it off and I don't have to worry about taking the massive capital gains tax. I can minimize that. And I did take some bigger hits earlier in this year. So I'm up about $2,000 for the year because of my dividends, but I've lost a bunch because of the sales that I've made. So now dividends and the taxes are very different for a lot of people. So I'm not going to break the full thing down here. You always have to check with your with a financial or check with your tax person to know exactly how it's going to hit you, because it's going to be a lot of times based upon what your income is. If you have income outside of your dividends, it's going to depend on the dividends themselves. Some are taxed as qualified dividends, some are non-qualified dividends, some are going to be taxed within a certain bracket because of that. Some are going to be taxed as just normal income, which is going to be based upon whatever you make. So it could be 35-40% where I'm at. So those things there, just always make sure you're paying attention to. A lot of the information you can find online, at least as far as the brackets go for your situation, and then for your stocks themselves and your ETFs to see if they're qualified, non-qualified, or if they're going to be just normal income. Each one of your ETFs will show that. And if you take a look at Yeah, yes, Hanif. But if you take a look at those, it'll break it down for you. And again, it gets more complicated because some of the ETFs are mixed. So you may get a percentage of it is non-qualified, some percentage is qualified, a lot of different things that are in there. But usually at the end of the year, when you get all the information and your tax information from your brokers, it will break it down in there to show you where the percentages are. And somewhere within your broker, there should be a way to find out what those percentages are right now before you get to tax season. Hanif, I appreciate all the financial advice, Tim. Thank you. I learned a lot from you. Oops, not financial advice, but suggestions. Yes, these are financial suggestions. Again, I don't give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm going to be doing financial coaching. Look forward to that. I'm going to try to. I may do it in November. I've got to just figure out my schedule and when I'm going to do it. It's going to be a very small 4-hour block of time once a week. That's all I can do right now. I'm still working a lot of hours at my job, but I want to open this up, and it's kind of my next step and my next source of income. And I'm going to end up doing an initial 30 or 60-minute free consultation, so we can discuss everything, what your plans are, what you want to do, and I'm going to give you a very good amount of information for you in that free consultation. And then if you want me to do follow-ups every single month to kind of hold you guys accountable, then we'll figure out. I've got some rates that I've got decided for that for the future. But I learned, I didn't even realize this. A lot of financial coaches out there, not even advisors, just coaches, are charging $100 to $300 an hour. Now, granted, that's the going rate. Maybe if that's the going rate, that's cool. But I'm like, to me personally, I want this to be something that's just gonna, be enough to cover my bills. And I'm not looking to gouge anybody. My goal is to help you guys achieve your financial goals. If I'm taking a ton of money from you in that process, that's not helping you achieve your financial goals. So my rates are going to be way less than that. So again, I'll pass that off to you guys, and I'll share that with you as I get closer to it. But yeah, that's what I want to offer to you guys. And again, I'm going to start with 4-hour blocks. And my dad, I'll bill you. Yes, my dad has given me a ton of financial coaching over the years. So yes, I owe him pretty much every dollar that I would make from financial coaching would go straight to him. What's going on with Tesla? Oh, yes, that was the other thing that happened this week. Tesla had their deliveries that came out. They met expectations, but because it didn't hit the whisper numbers, the stock sold off, has since rebounded because of the good news that we got today. So it's still not back to the 260 mark, but it did bounce back up since the sell-off, which again, I had mentioned I thought that was what was going to happen. We were going to see a sell-off for a day or two, which we did, and we bounced off around that 235, 236 range. And then we came back up to where we're at now. And we may push up even higher from here going into next week into the robotaxi event. And then historically for Tesla, you see a sell-off at the event. So maybe we push up past that 260 mark again. Again, we've been bouncing, hitting that 260 to 270 mark for the last couple of years as a high, could not break through it. Will we break through it this time? We will have to wait and see. Don't know. But that will be what we pay attention to next week as the robotaxi event. That's what's going on with Tesla. And then, of course, after that, we're going to be getting to earnings. So that'll be the next step. Tesla, I sold off of all of mine last year. Now, that one I had 400 shares of, and I was making tons of money in income. And, going to here, I'll share this with you guys on here. Because I have my whole ETF from 2023. I had 400 shares, but my total return was not good because the stock depreciated so much. The NAV erosion was so strong. They've even reversed split once because it was so bad. And again, I was pulling in 100, 162, 180, 225, $239 a month in dividends, which looked great, made my dividend income look great, but it was not doing well overall because the returns were so poor. So down here, again, let me see, where is my dividends paying out? So, Tesla for me brought another 222 in January, and then I sold off a huge chunk of it. I sold off half of it, then $60, and then 40, and then I ended up selling the entire amount in March to get rid of all of my Tesla because I was losing so much money. It just wasn't worth holding on to just for the dividend that in the long run was just basically counteracting the NAV erosion, and it wasn't making me any money. Now, more recently, with the stock running back up, maybe it was a good buy to have. Maybe around this time was probably the good time to start buying it and not selling it. Maybe I made the wrong move here and it was going to rebound. I did not want to take that chance. That's not the game I wanted to play. So I got out of it. And honestly, I feel I don't regret selling it. I haven't paid attention to it going forward. I've got Coney, been doing well with that. Um, so again, the yield max ETFs, I don't think are terrible. They're great for people who want to play options off of them, especially if you're playing puts because the NAV erosion is so strong on them. And then, if you're just using that cash to buy in, or if you want to time it and say, hey, Tesla was down. If Tesla's down, you want to buy in and get more income, but you're still going to underperform Tesla itself. So that's one of the things that you have to take into account is you're always still going to underperform. So if you're doing it for an income purpose, like I was doing, to take that money and put it into other areas, maybe you're going to use that money to buy Tesla stock itself. May not be a bad strategy. A lot of people did that. I was doing that for a while myself. So again, those would be the strategies I would play on that if you were going to. But as far as a long-term holding, it's got a high expense ratio. The volatility is crazy. If Tesla drops, it drops even more. If Tesla goes up, it does not keep up with it. So, there's got to be reasons you want to be in it. And if those reasons are good for you and you want to play that timing game, go for it. People are making good money on it. It's just not for me anymore. Tim, are you still primarily focused on Tesla stock? Not so much, Raymond. I'm still obviously talking about it. I did my 2 videos this past week on the deliveries. I'm going to be doing the Robotaxi event next week. I will do an earnings one as well. Because of the time of my job, I can't get out in time to do a live stream like I had done in the past. But I will pay attention to it, and I'll do a follow-up afterwards just to do a recap of the earnings when I finish, when the earnings call's over. So I'll still do all of that. I still love Tesla as a company. I still love Tesla as a stock. But for me, my focus shifted. And because my focus shifted and it's a more broad-based view of what's going on in the market, and I'm more focused on dividend income and passive income coming in, cash flow generation from all of that, I've shifted away from Tesla to kind of encompass more of that as well. So no, it's not primarily on Tesla, but if I'm ever going to focus on individual stocks, Tesla will most likely be the number one. And I'm going to focus on a lot of dividend driven things. So last weekend I put out my top 5 dividend ETFs. This weekend I'm going to be putting out a video for my top 5 dividend REITs and BDCs. Next weekend I'm going to be putting out my top 5 dividend growth stocks. And as a bonus after that, I will put out a video for my top 5 growth stocks that don't pay dividends. Tesla, of course, will be one of those as well. So yeah, Raymond, that's kind of how I broke my channel down now. And again, it's not as fun. The algorithm doesn't like it as much. It's not as fancy as what was going on before. I'm not getting anywhere near the views that I got before, but I like this version of investing for myself better. And it's a lot less of the casino gaming version of things. So that's just my focus now. And that's just the way I'm going with it. And I'm not concerned about the views. I would love to have, a couple thousand views every video. You guys hit that like button, share the videos, with everybody that you can. That's awesome. I would appreciate that. That helps the algorithm. That helps my channel grow back to where it was before. But again, that's not what I'm doing this for. I want to just give you guys the information that I'm learning myself and share a lot of that with you. And, and over time, the views will come. That's great. If not, I don't mind spending the time hanging out with you guys either way. Yes, be a good financial coach. So this is be a good human, be a good financial coach. And that's what I want to do. I want to be a good financial coach and just share my wisdom with you guys. Again, my dad being on here, he's kind of one of my inspirations. He has shared a lot of his wisdom with me, and I share my wisdom with my son. And I'm like, I can also share that wisdom with all of you as my audience, as if you're my children. And of course, many of you are older than I am. But it's kind of like what I want to do is share my wisdom with you. And you guys have shared a lot of your wisdom with me as well. It's kind of a mutual sharing going on, and you guys have helped me grow, and I want to help you grow in turn. And I know that there's a lot of people out there in a situation where I was at, several years ago. And I was like, I know what it's like to be there. I know what I did to get through that. How can I help speed up that learning curve? How can I help people get through that to get to the other side? Because I know there were a lot of times I felt like giving up. And I want to help people understand that they can do this. There are ways to get out of the struggles that they're in. I want to be able to coach them through that and help them. So yes, I want to be a good financial coach. All right, it's been 45 minutes, guys. I'm going to jump off Friday night. It's been a long week. I'm going to go relax. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. I appreciate all of your support. You guys are the best. And I will see you guys again this Sunday. I'll be putting out that video for you, my top 5 BDCs and REITs.